Tsunami on its own will be an internationally touring brand.
Nice.
So something where there's going to be a Tsunami London, UK. There's going to be a Tsunami New York, Labor Day. There's going to be a Tsunami Miami, Trinidad. I'm going to, as much as I could possibly do it, inject that event into every space that I can.
So I'm here today with DJ BuzzB, the man behind Tsunami, biggest wet fete in Canada. 5,000 people this year come through. A lot of people would see that, you know, you're about to DJ with Yuma on the truck this year or next year for Trinidad Carnival.
Correct.
A lot of people would see that, you know, maybe as upcoming DJs and want to get there. But like, how did this start out for you?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate, you have even doing this. I love this space. I love the talking space, the podcast space, and giving these opinions a voice, because everybody thinks they know what they're talking about, but it's good to hear perspectives and really understand. I guess to your question, how did I get to where I am and the early phases of that?
Yeah, like where'd you start?
Where I started was actually, to be honest, I didn't even really like soca music when I was younger. I was born and raised in Toronto, Canada, Trinidadian parents. I have a sister, and we grew up in Scarborough and all that entailed. So, you go through the phases. At first, I really enjoyed like NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, those type of things. And then when I got in the high school phase, it was more of like the Dipsets, the Kanye, the Jay-Z, etc. And the palette changed. But the thing that really changed it for me was when I went to, I believe it was Hamilton Carnival. I went and it was this like concert. I'll never forget it. It was a parade, like a carnival parade, much smaller than like a Toronto carnival. But I went and it was a small parade, and at the end it was in a big park. And they set up this huge like stadium type stage. People gathered around and they had different performers. So I went there just not knowing what to expect. I've never seen anything Fete related. I just went in the crowd. Next thing I know, Sherwayne Winchester, and this was in his like prime.
So was it like 2005?
Exactly. This is in his prime time, like when he was at his best. I went in the crowd, and just the performance he put on that stage was so electrifying that it stunned me. And then I vividly remember there was a moment where there was a girl that came to whine on me. And I looked down and I said, "Girls do this?" So I said, from that point, it was all soca from there. And now I'm Mr. Tsunami. So that shows you how good the wine was. But
that wine changed the course of my life.
It really did. And to be honest, when I was younger, I was at a loss. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I never had an idea of what I might be. All I saw was my parents at home. And I said, I want to be like them. Like, we had a very good upbringing. Obviously, every family has this little issues of bickering and whatnot, but I've seen tragedies happen with families as well. So to have that household together, I was just like, I just want to be like them. Get a good job, 9 to 5, stay there, and then come home at a certain time to see my kids, because that was the life I knew. But then, as I said, now I've dove into the soca culture now, and I saw a whole new perspective. Right. And to fast forward that a little bit in terms of the DJ, because you asked about that DJ lifestyle. I was in university, and I was doing what most university and college students do, is procrastinate. So I was sitting there and I was listening to, at the time, they had something called KOS Radio. And it was Marksman and Dirty Dez that had a show. And Marksman did some like captivating mix that just... it had my attention.
A soca mix?
Like he was like live to air, just like how Twitch is these days. He was live to air with soca, and I was just so like into the mix. And I listened to one particular transition, and something like just drew me to that. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I could try this too. Next day, I did what most DJs from my era did: downloaded Virtual DJ and started playing with buttons. I didn't know anything about DJing. And then I downloaded those 2-3 songs that he played. So from that point, I just kept practicing like how he did that mix. So after about 2-3 days, I did a little mix of like 3-4 songs. And then I went and I showed it to my sister, who's in the culture. She's already been to fetes and whatnot and enjoyed herself, so she knows what it is. I played it for her, and she was just like, you you really have an ear for this. And literally from that point, it just hasn't stopped. Like,
how old were you at that time, or how
that was
long ago
18.
was this?
18.
Okay. So how old were you when you got like your first Soca gig, or when was it?
First Soca gig was, I believe, early 19. So that would have been 2009,
Okay.
something like that. And I won't forget, it was the Enforcers. They were the first ones to send me an email. Hey, we want to book you for an event. Worked it out, and I went to play there. And
But back then,
amazing.
what was it like Facebook you were posting your stuff on? Like, how did these people find you?
Yeah, primarily Facebook, because that was what was like the Instagrams and the TikToks of today. But mainly Facebook and going out,
Okay.
like meeting people. And at the time, I was the BBM era, right? Or the BBM
Broadcast messages.
exactly, and BCMs and all of that. But that was a big thing,
Yeah.
right? And the WhatsApps of the day and those type of things. You just make connections and you grow it like that. And emails and things like that. You go to one party, you have to submit your email or whatever the case. It's a cycle. And at the time also, they had something called Toronto Lime. Big up the Toronto Lime crew. They know. That was a big thing. So as much as Instagram today, you see the flyers and the stories and the feeds. Back then, it was a different dynamic, but similar things.
This is like the MySpace era, kind of
Yes,
like coming out of
yes.
that. Okay. So today now you're getting booked. I see you went to Japan. You're going to be going to Trinidad just now. I think you went to St. Martin or something. You're going all over the place. So what would you say has helped you to be able to get into these spaces?
For sure, the main thing I would say is having your own, right? When you think about these spaces and the kind of places I'm talking about, there's a lot of competition in those spaces already as is, without even me knocking on the door. And I feel like they're not really going to take on anybody new into that space, because why would they do that when they already have an established set of people that have proven themselves in those spaces? You have to be bringing something to the table. So if you have your own and something of like substance that they see that they could in turn, like there's a mutually beneficial situation that both business parties could work with and benefit from each other, it makes sense. But if they have no reason to put you in those positions,
Like
right?
if you're just another DJ?
Exactly.
So-
Because there's a million of those.
So what would somebody need to do to be able to differentiate themselves? Like, is it like, yo, I'm a Lucian music? Like, what is it? What does that look like?
And I think that could be a multitude of things, right? You could niche yourself and be that as best as you can be at that. But to me, too, if you do that, that has to be your passion. Don't do it because Lucian music is hot right now, right? Because that changes every few years. I've seen it. A lot of the older DJs could tell you, many more stories than me. But I've seen the transitions, like every few years, the sounds change, the dynamics change. It went from island pop, it went with crop over stuff. Trini music's usually, the dominant one throughout the year, especially where we're from, Toronto, and things like that. Those shifts. Now there's a lot of bouillon and those type of things incorporated, and various ways of looking at it. But you could do that. I would say you could also have your own events that show that you bring people out based off of your brand and your name, right? And that's what that method has really become these days. As a DJ, it's very fine and few that DJs are going to get through based off of like strictly just their talent, right? That's like, I don't want to say 1 in a million, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's very difficult, and big up the ones that do get through. But not everybody's, the coolest kid in school, or not everybody's the best at that. They might be really good at something else, but they're not focusing on the right thing. So I would just say focus on your strengths and understand that you have to differentiate yourself, but be bringing something to the table.
So how much would you say that relationships have helped you to get into these different spaces? Like, are you able to build these new relationships from people seeing you having your events, or is it just like, yo, you knew a guy and then?
No, absolutely. I think relationships are probably one of the top priorities. Relationships, networking, and having a good name out there, because a lot of people, one thing I noticed, especially in this day and age, there's a lot of subliminals posted, or there's a lot of people that speak on various topics that, like, from a argumentative standpoint, right? And when you really think about those things, if there's already an established upper echelon of people in an industry and they all talk, you know, if you're doing something that's upsetting one of the top people, let's just say now the biggest person in your industry sees you and says, yo, I kind of like her podcast, but she's from Toronto or he's from Toronto. Let me think, who do I ask? And now they go and ask the same person you're attacking, you know, on social media. They're going to give their feedback, and that could ruin that business relationship for you. So it's not even only about the like getting new friends or meeting new business partners and whatever the case is maintaining old ones. It's not burning bridges and those type of things. Like, you got to make sure your network is right.
I seen you talk a little bit about, and you don't have to go into details, but I seen you talk a little about like the politics behind the scenes. Like, what's it like navigating that? And do you have any advice for somebody who might be trying to come up and operate? I
mean, my only advice is what I could speak on that I've done. And I'm not going to say I've been the most perfect. And if there's been an issue, I've been, you know, always the guy that just completely stays quiet. Like, if somebody's attacking my character, I will defend that, right? Because I value my brand and I value who I am as a person, right? But with the politics in the game, you have to really think about what that could do, I guess, to your brand, right? And you don't want to burn bridges. There's a lot of people that are just going to not like you because they just don't like you, you know, and you got to roll with that. And my advice would be, if they don't like you, block it out. Yeah. Ignore it, keep it pushing. Because I could promise you, I could sit here and tell you stories that would blow your mind. Blow your mind to the point where like somebody has disrespected me, I don't know, in 2012. And it's come back full circle to the point where now they may not even realize it was me that they were disrespecting, because now I am a bit more of an established name. So they may not even realize it was still the same person, but they would have come back to me because they now see the hype that's going on and say, oh, well, can we do business? I'm sorry, like, I'm not going to attack you because of that, but I'm also just going to remove myself from the situation. You know, you like for instance, a regular 9 to 5. When you go to your average job, you want to go there with people that you like. Yeah. So if people don't like you, or if people have a problem with you and you know yourself you're doing the right thing, like, remove yourself from that conversation. Because why are you going to force that relationship to work if you don't, like, the person doesn't like you and they're attacking your character? Leave them alone. And I just say, just build an environment where you thrive, right? Work with people that work with you. Work with people that want to see the betterment of your success, and you in turn want to see that for them. Because there's a lot of one-way streets in this business. Okay. And it's
what do you mean by that?
Like, people want everything out of you
and nothing in return.
And it's tragic. It's really unfortunate. Like, a lot of stories that could be told from various people in the industry. Yeah. Right? It's a frustrating thing, but I say you got to hold your own and build your own empire.
I feel like that's something that I'm hearing, because when I was talking to Carnival Bay on an episode that we released recently, she was talking about, like, specifically in Toronto, she was talking about, though, she was like, it's a lot of me. And she's like, everyone, like it's an ego thing, like everybody wants to be the head or whatever. So hearing your perspectives on that and hearing that, like, you know, I don't know if it's like you're talking about the entire, like, Soca DJ industry or just specifically in Toronto.
No, yeah, everywhere. And that's the scariest part, after, because it's recent I've been traveling the way I have been. Okay. Recently, and that's a whole different dynamic. Like, when you leave your hometown and now you're in a new territory where you may not know anybody, and now you have to play for a brand new crowd. That's a scary feeling in itself. Yeah. But then you also go into these established places and start naturally making friends. That DJ heard you, yo, you're wicked, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's make a connection. Then you find out this one don't like this one. And then you want to be friends with this one, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere. But I, like, do my best to stay out of the politics.
I hear that.
And if anybody has that sort of aggression towards me, I just detach myself from that. It's no bad feelings. It's no animosity. You do you on your side of the ball court. I'll do me on mine. You know what I mean? That's just how I roll.
So I want to talk a little bit more about, like, the behind the scenes of Tsunami, because so this was my first year going to Tsunami. When I went, I was like, yo, I know you have a team that helps you, but I was like, yo, these guys paid attention to so much detail. I'm like, well, my friend even pointed out, she's like, yo, they have a DJ in the line when we're walking in. I'm like, that's sick. When we went to the stage, I'm like, yo, they laid down these tiles so that there's no mud, like at least not too much mud, because on the other sides there was mud. Yeah. Even when it was time to go to the washrooms, there was enough, like what porta potties are like stalls for everybody to go to the washroom. So like, tell me a little bit about what it takes to plan out Tsunami. Like how far ahead are you starting the planning of Tsunami?
Well, something like Tsunami, which is now a festival event, and you know, I believe it's evolved from like the Fete stage to now. There's 5,000 people here, and this is an entire operation. So
I want to talk to you about how Tsunami started.
Yeah.
Was it Sunshine Fete?
Yeah. That was 2013, if I'm not mistaken.
So you just been throwing dumb, crazy parties? Because my boyfriend's always talking about 2017 Sunshine Fete. He's like, yo, that party? He's like, yo, I swear this guy was talking about Sunshine Fete for like 5 years, bro. I'm like, okay, like I get it. The party was sick.
That's the effect.
That was
that's
you
the
too.
Effect. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it too. And you know, the same formula is now Tsunami. As I said, it continues to evolve. So it's a monster now. Mm-hmm. And just by your testament there alone, like you didn't even get into the nitty gritty. Mm-hmm. You got into some features of it, but just what you took away from that, you know, I thank you for that, because that shows people are actually paying attention to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And when you really walk in Tsunami, this is not your average party. As I said, I played around the world, a lot of these places in the world, at some of these type of parties. We go above and beyond to make sure the experience is A1. Right? I want to make sure you guys have the best time possible. And I think I know that's reflected in the comments, in the post after the event. You know what I mean? And I'm heartfelt. I thank you guys, because the city really is the one that made that what it is. Mm-hmm. But I thank you guys for trusting me on that side of things to make sure your experience isn't like any other one. Mm-hmm. Right? Just like what you said, there's the tiles laid down so that the grass doesn't get muddy. Or at least we tried our best. There's people going around picking up garbage throughout the event.
Okay.
There's security roaming the entire event the whole time, roaming the porta potties, ensuring your safety. Even before all of what I'm talking about, finding the venue was like, I wanted to pull out hair when that process was happening. But again, all of that and all of what I'm talking about and more could not be done without the help of my team, right? And they know exactly who they are. And we were like an all-star team this year with that party.
How many of you?
Core team-wise, it was 5 of us.
Okay.
6 of us. And on top of that, I would say there would be maybe 5 or so, like fairly close. And then God know after that, because we're talking like 40 security or 50 security, something so. 12 police. I can't remember. I think it was 50 people picking up garbage. So we're employing a lot of people that day. So there's a lot of facets to this, because, you know, some people do that party and then might skimp out on the police. We want to work with the police. Like, please come into Tsunami, please. As a matter of fact, if you could take the day off and call the friend that doesn't really like parties, you come here and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
We want to show you that it's not about anything besides having the time of your life, right? And having the most fun possible. And I'm sure you could say this is a story that's going to be told for years. How much fun did you have?
Listen, my voice was mashed up for like 2 weeks after. And I kept thinking, like, I was just so happy after the party. I was like, yo, this is literally the best party I've been to in Toronto. You know why? It reminds me of like fests that I've been to in Grenada. Wow. Mud and just like niceness, and everybody's just freeing up themselves. Like, there's no stush vibes nowhere.
Exactly. And that's again, the benefit. Nice. That's the benefit of traveling and touring.
So you get to pick bits and pieces of what you see, what you like to bring it back to make yours better and better.
Exactly. Because like a part I left out of the initial story of how I even got into Soca was my initial phases. Like, I was a partier before DJing. So I was going out to fetes and listening to the music and enjoying it myself before I even thought about DJing. So that is a dynamic too that I would say, don't just become a DJ just because you see it's the in thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, love it, be in it, be involved in it, go to the events, mingle with people, like dive yourself into that culture, right? And I ended up doing that, and I think it helped dramatically with my DJing, because I present what I would want for an event or when I DJ. So if I know I like music heard a certain way, when I'm in a certain zone in a party, that's how I'm going to play it. And with fetes, like creating Tsunami, I literally created my favorite party in the world, and I can't even go out there and enjoy myself the way I want to. I wish I could, but you know, it does me a great service to see thousands of people, especially with a smile on their face. You know, there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into that event, and to see it go off the way that it did, like that was like one of those heartwarming feelings. I just had to stop there and look out into the crowd like, yo, we did this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like somebody came and held my hand through the, like, you know, or like a big brother that has guided me throughout the years. This is years on years of just testing out different trials and errors. And this year we had a lot of professional help. You know what I mean? And we'll have that conversation. I'll be bringing back my podcast soon.
Nice.
But that conversation I'm sure we can get into later. But just speaking on that, there was, you know, guidance this year to do it the right way. We're tired of doing it the wrong way. You know?
What does the wrong way look like?
And I wouldn't even say doing it the wrong way, but choosing people that don't have the event's best interest at heart, that are pivotal roles of the entire operation.
Okay.
And you know, when it boils down to trust and transparency and these type of things, there's a lot of issues with that in our community, and it's sad. Again, I could sit here and tell you horror stories. It's what, November 1st. Yesterday was Halloween. I could sit here and tell you a bunch of
spooky stories.
A bunch, but I wouldn't do that. Again, I just detach myself and just try to pick the right path. So this year, it's like that in itself is a crazy story, which again, I can't really get into, but on my podcast I will. But that was a crazy story in how Tsunami evolved to the next level. You know,
so it evolved out of like having to pivot from maybe people that weren't really like having Tsunami's best interest at heart.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was that in combination with just the natural growth of the event.
Okay.
Like this was the third Tsunami brand. The first one had like 900 people just considering because it was COVID and their restrictions. Whatever.
Wait, you only started Tsunami in 2020?
2021.
Oh my God.
So that was the first, and that was after the pandemic, obviously.
Yeah.
Or well, coming to the tail end, I should say. But that had 1,000 people there. So the next year, I don't know, I'm hoping 2,000, maybe 2,500.
Yeah.
We had 3,500 people.
Wow.
So that immediate like jump, it showed. And plus, obviously, coming out of COVID and that type of party, everyone wants to go to that. And then going from 3,500 to 5,000 now was an even bigger jump. And like the rush for the ticket sales is crazy. Like these are things that I didn't imagine I would be doing. There's a handful of people in this industry and that you could count on one hand that have done that to a website, crashed it. Tsunami's done that twice.
That was bad still.
Very. I know y'all mad. I get it. But imagine me.
I know you're stressed.
With
hundreds of DMs.
Let me tell you this. I wouldn't even get into it, but let me tell you this. I sat there that night until about 3-4 in the morning, responding to about 500 to 600 DMs. My hands on my Instagram doing that.
I know because I DM'd you and you answered.
Because of all the nonsense I dealt with. I can't go on social media and bash who's responsible for that.
Yeah.
But who do you think's taking the flack for it?
The leader.
So that happens a lot. And if I can control that beforehand, I'm going to do that. Because it's not your reputation that's on the line, it's mine. So if you're not showing the characteristics of being a good business partner, you're cut. And then it's on to somebody who's more trustworthy, or at least we roll the dice and find out. But it's a lot.
You definitely made up for it with the event, though. I know that's for sure.
I'm telling you.
I forgot about those ticket sales when I was there.
This was a funny, and honestly, my team was amazing to make sure that was the narrative.
Yeah.
Everybody left that party like that was the best party of my life.
Literally.
The man said, yo, it was at an event the other day I played. He pulled me aside and he was like, yo, you BuzzB? I said, you know, it's the Scarborough man. You BuzzB? I said, yeah. What's going on? Yo, you did the Tsunami? I said, yeah. He's like, yo, bro, I'm not gonna lie, like I missed the first ticket still, but then the tickets came back out and I saw the price was crazy, but I'm like,
140.
They were like, yo, I'm gonna give it a shot. Like everybody's talking about it. Let me see what it's about. He's like, yo, I'm never missing that party again for the rest of my life.
Trust me. Yo, listen. I
couldn't help but laugh.
I told you, I DM'd you. I'm like, yo, they're going to stop calling it Caravana Weekend and start calling it Tsunami Weekend. I'm not even joking. Because which one is better? Being on the road or Tsunami? My personal experience, I'm telling you my experience. I had more fun at Tsunami.
Thank you so much.
And I know I'm not the only one. I had an amazing time on the road. Like I had an amazing time on the road. But Tsunami, I don't know. I think it's something about the mud. It's something about the mud.
you like the Juve. And,
yeah, well, I'm Grenadian. So
I got you.
That we ting. So what's one of the biggest things that's helped to propel your career forward in this space?
I would honestly say, again, a combination of things. I don't know if I can narrow it down to the biggest. I could probably give a few. Mixtapes is definitely something, and I think that's a huge lane to go down when it comes to DJs, especially ones that are aspiring, that want to get out there, because I understand the frustration. You work so long on a mix, you put it out there and it's under 100 views or plays and whatnot, and it's discouraging, and it could be less than that. But I promise you, if you keep doing it and you listen to who's listening, take their feedback and build on it, and then you just continue to sharpen your sword, so to speak, it's going to catch on at some point. I have one of my mixes right now on the approaching 1 million.
What?
And that's the old school mix I did with Live Love Soca. That was the collaboration effort. Like they're the brand and brand in London, UK.
Okay.
And they reached out to me. They heard about me and they're like, "Yo, we want to do an old school mix." I don't know these people, but I'm like, let me give it a shot. Their page seems legit.
Yeah.
I did it, and the mix went crazy. On my page alone, it's like 500,000 views on my YouTube. If you go on my SoundCloud, I think that's 40,000. Their SoundCloud is 60,000, and their YouTube is like 200,000. Some crazy numbers.
Wow.
And it's reached a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I did that mix once, and people are till today messaging me like, "Yo, this mix is amazing."
So do you think you would ever okay, so for example, almost 1 million hits on the one mix. Would you ever use that to be like, okay, people are going crazy with this mix, I should make an event, this theme? Or is that not how it works?
Yeah, that's a possibility. There's a multiple ways of doing that, but there's also like the Marshall mix I did. Like, I could make these events, and maybe even a celebration event. I don't know, like for getting to 1 million plays. Yeah, that'd be a pretty cool idea.
It would be.
But and I thank the listeners for that, because it's amazing that it's reached so many people, and that's the power of the internet.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, your only way of getting music to people was handing out something. So thinking about how easy that is to do now is also something DJs need to consider. It's just a quick flick of your thumbs to do that sometimes. Obviously, it takes a bit of work, getting the project done. But as a DJ, like, let's look at it like this. You're a DJ and you're getting maybe, a low rate to go play at some party you don't even like. Instead of that, why don't you go home or stay home, I should say, and the 5-6 hours you would be at that party, spend that same exact time doing a mix. Put your best effort into that mix, and use the next couple days, couple weeks, start messaging people. Can you, check this out? Please listen to the mix, whatever the case is. It has the potential of reaching 1 million plus. I'm proof of that. These aren't like skewed numbers either. These are the real things. Like, I can't make that up.
Yeah.
So I'm proof of that, and I'm the most regular guy you'll meet. But it's possible, and I would say that's an amazing way of thinking about it, because sometimes that little amount of money, you might go to some party that probably is stressing you out to even be there.
Yeah.
You might as well use that on benefiting your career, and who knows where that mix will go. Like, I would big up people like the online DJs. I'm sure you've all seen who they are and the amount of views and stuff that they get. But those are avenues to really like propel your career,
Yeah, because that's where people are going to be able to see you and know, like, yo, that's that guy.
Yeah, it's what your first impression, so to speak. And doing that online, to me, is amazing, because it doesn't require you having to leave your house. It doesn't require you having to fly somewhere. It's a beautiful thing.
Are you okay to talk about like how much Tsunami costs?
It costs a lot. Let's put it that way. And I want you to understand this too. If I am investing into something like Tsunami, right? And the time is going on, the event's coming closer, and let's just say, for instance, we have to put more people in the venue,
expense.
Which is why we had to add those expenses. When you go last minute to these companies that are already charging you an arm and a leg, close to Caravana, just imagine what those things cost. You probably wouldn't even nobody would really understand unless they do it. So that's why I honestly commend the guys who have done this on a large scale before me, and do it on a large scale bigger than what Tsunami was. That is not an easy thing to do. It costs a lot of money, a lot. And the ticket price points would not be that if it didn't reflect what the event costs. I have about 17 years in this industry doing this, right? And if I was known for doing something like this, that would have been a narrative on my name. And I have been reasonable with what I justify as the quality of my brand as well as the market. You have to study these things, right? Because it's not a business, or it's not a not-for-profit business. Like, this is business. But in order to grow and do these things, you need to have certain things in place. And what warms my heart was your review of Tsunami alone. Because you didn't start with like, oh, I got so wet up in the mud. And you started with like, I saw certain things like, yo, just before you even enter the event, there's a whole experience. Yeah. We put time and effort into every little detail down to a T. And if that was a test, I am sure we would have got about a 90, 95.
100%.
And that to me is the biggest compliment, but that level of excellence with Fetes and doing something like that doesn't come cheap.
The only feedback that I would give, more food trucks, please. Because I was hungry. And when I tried to go to the food truck, I thought there was no line. Yeah. And they're like, when I got to the front, it said they had no food left. And then the next food truck line was reckless. So I was like, yo, please, we need like 4 more food trucks here.
Yeah. What I'll say to that is this was also the first year we used the venue Black Creek Pioneer Village. Yeah. That was through our tireless searching of getting a venue, but got that venue and, we went in, dealt with business properly, how it should be. We saw different sides to doing events because we went through them, because they forced us to do things a certain way. Okay. Meaning like you need insurance in place here, you need to do this, you need to do that in order for us to even sign a contract. Okay. We haven't experienced that before. And as I said, the people that we've been dealing with has not been the best of experiences. So this situation, they were very forthcoming and so were we. So that really worked out for both parties. But the issue is that we saw the space, but we didn't envision what it would look like with the people. So we're seeing the space without anybody there thinking, oh my gosh, we have 4,000 something tickets out there. Like, can people even fit here? Like, we don't know how that looks, right? And with that now comes spacing issues and permits and getting zoned. Like, there's a lot of facets. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of intricate things to doing it the right way. So with that, you can't have a certain amount of vehicles blocking entrances. Okay. You can't have a certain amount of vehicles when there's so many people. You can't have, there's a million different things you have to consider. And again, we are finding all of this out, doing it properly.
It's research and development.
The first year. And that's exactly what it is. So this year, realistically, this was a huge investment because nobody sees the behind the scenes costs. Yeah. Nobody sees like the turmoil, and I'll use that word, that our team had to go through. Yeah. There was some stuff that was just disheartening and disappointing that we had to deal with, but we did it with tact. We dealt with it how we should have. And people are going to say what they want to say, but I have to now, as like you said, the leader of that and the leader of what I'm doing, understand that I'm here for a mission and a purpose.
What's the mission?
So me personally, this entire operation is called DJ BuzzB Inc. Okay. Right? DJ BuzzB is who I am, and Tsunami just so happens to be the poppin' thing right now, the big baby, that project, right? So aside from the fun and the festival and the jazz, my goals are to do programs like the DJ Network, which I currently have on YouTube. That's something not a lot of people even know about me. It was in 2016, 2017. I just decided I wanted to come out with something called the DJ Network and show some tutorials just on tips of things that I figured out as a DJ. Tips that people do not share with you. Yeah. A lot of people like to gatekeep that information. But I came from a different perspective. Like, no, I would rather share this. Because what if that kid learned something that I figured out 17 years later? If they figured it out earlier, that could open them up to propel further.
And they're going to big up, BuzzB was the one who taught me how to do this.
And that's not even it, because we all have experienced it too. A lot of these events, some of the DJs are not up to par. And let's just be
All of your DJs at Tsunami were so
That's
good.
but that's under my, magnifying glass. I handpick exactly who I want for purposes and reasons, because of how they play, what they would do in this slot of time. Like, I study that aspect of it too. It's not just setting up the event, but going back to the DJ network is to give tips and tricks of how I DJ.
Yeah.
Like, and I think I could give a lot of advice that not the average person would know. And I've come up with my own ways of doing things too that somebody could utilize. I've seen a lot of Seratos, which is the DJ software. It's scary looking in some DJ Seratos. But I say all that to say I want to do that platform to help the DJ community, which is passionate. That's a passion of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I am a DJ first when it comes to the business side of things. I have a podcast coming back.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be called the Pre-Lime podcast. So that was the pre-lime in the party, before the party, the line before that, where you just talk and you have that nonsense. So that's what we did for a few years. Before podcasts were even really a thing. We were doing that since 2016.
Nice.
So we did that, and then COVID happened. And I thought, you know what, let me restructure the podcast, because I see something in the podcast that it's rooted in helping who's listening. Obviously, there's the banter and the nonsense with my co-host JKD, but there's a lot of helpful content in that. Mm-hmm. So I said, let me transition the brand from Pre-Lime to the People's Podcast, because that's who the podcast was for, the people. And, try to develop it under a self-help type of experience, because that's naturally who I am. And fast forward to now, we decided to change the brand again. There's going to be a lot of changes coming to that podcast, just to make sure to scale the project the way I wanted to, because I know it could help our community. And that is going to be called the Up From Here podcast.
Nice.
So that's literally just you tune in. We have a podcast, which I'm inviting to you from now.
Oh, yeah.
Inviting you to from now. But let's just say we have a podcast. So the crowd, the beautiful audience listening and watching right now, they would listen to you, hear what you have to say, your trials and tribulations, how you got over those things. And once they've heard all of your stories, it's only up from here.
Facts.
And that's kind of the spin of it. And it's rooted in helping our culture, understanding important foundational things about our culture, because there's stuff we don't talk about. Mm-hmm. We're always online talking about the slackness and the Bayesian tube and this. We're always on that. But who's talking about family values?
Yeah.
Who's talking about financial literacy?
Yeah.
Who's talking about these key topics that are important for a family structure, which I've seen is essential these days.
Yeah.
These days, the world is crazy. Mm-hmm. Inflation's rising like crazy.
Cost of living is reckless.
Especially where we live.
Yeah.
People, and I don't know if you saw the post recently. It was saying something like immigrants leaving Canada are at an all-time high.
Yeah.
I don't know how factual that was, 6 buzz or something like that. So hold that with a grain of
salt. It's probably true though, because even I was taking an Uber this morning and the driver was like, yeah, people are leaving.
Yeah.
Even my friends are like, I'm trying to go to Texas. People are genuinely talking and considering leaving.
Yeah. And I don't blame them. It's crazy. But again, if you have a family structure that's all working towards a goal, you have a support system. These things are important for growth. And I think our community should do more of that conversation.
And I think even in terms of Up From Here, something that people might not realize is it's not luck or something that gets people in these positions. You didn't get to where you are right now because you were lucky or you had something that somebody else didn't have. You said you're a regular guy. One of the things, and I'm sure it's a skill that you can attest that you have, is when there's a challenge, or there's a problem, you figure out a solution and a way to work around it and keep going, right? So I think sometimes people get discouraged when they feel like there's a roadblock or something. Yeah. But a lot of the people who are quote unquote successful or are able to do these big things, it's they don't let these roadblocks and things like that stop them.
And you can't, and it goes back to kind of what I'm saying. I have a purpose.
Yeah.
And the roadblocks could come in several different forms, right? It could come through verbal abuse on social media. That's most of the times it's unwarranted, because a lot of these people don't have a clue who I even am.
Yeah.
Right. So those things I tend to it's out of sight, out of mind. I don't even really be on social media like that because of the nature of it.
Fact.
It's amazing because of what it enables.
On one side, and then
there's always the good and the bad that comes with everything, right? So I try to just use my discernment and pick the right path. You have to understand that these people are going to try it with you. Yeah. These people are going to have their opinions of you without knowing
who you are,
anything about you.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know my first name. Like when I walked in here, you're like, oh, that's your name? Oh. People don't even know I have a first name. It's just DJ BuzzB. I'm this item, basically.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does feel like that.
Yeah.
Right? But you do have, with that again, with the bad comes the good. You have the most genuine people in the world sometimes.
Yeah.
That you know they're not there for anything but to like stand there and just say thank you for what you did.
Yeah.
And they don't want anything from you. And that's heartwarming in itself. But there's the verbal abuse on social media. There's industry feuds and conflicts that you got to worry about. Who's saying this about who? And there's a lot of stuff. But you just got to focus on your goals and your vision. And to me, if they're rooted in positivity and doing the right thing, once you have that goal set, all of the rest of that stuff is noise.
I feel like talking to you, I'm realizing that you're very like blinders on.
Yeah.
Like if this is not positive, this is not going to bring me up or whatever, it's not going to contribute, I'm just not even paying attention to it.
You gotta be, because like people say even too, the stuff you internalize off social media, like sometimes you digest that.
Yo, it's bad still. Yeah. When I was getting flamed in the comments, my chest was burning me.
So wait, hold on. What?
My chest was burning me.
What happened? Because you got your little moment. I saw that. It came across my timeline. So that shows you. I'd be ignoring. And I saw your stuff. So what happened? Talk to me.
So me and Mejia, we were talking about, honestly, I was referring to a video particularly that somebody sent to me. And I was like, this is actually fucking reckless. I wasn't even talking about the music, but Mejia started talking about, oh, you know, when they play that inside, outside, how she kind of stops dancing. And I'm like, yeah, and how we love to feel it gripping. I'm like, it's too vulgar. People were sick to their fucking stomach. They're like, it's the damn culture. These girls, yo, the comments were reckless. Oh, these are the girls who don't have the good grip. They're boring in bed. Wow. Yo, the comments were I'm like, are you serious right now? People were talking about, oh, if you want to be so wholesome, then go to Bible study. I'm like, yo,
it's crazy.
My chest was burning me, fam. My chest was burning me. I'm like, this is actually wild. I was like, you know what? It's growing pains though. Because I need to understand that this is what's going to happen sometimes when you have like a counterculture perspective or something like that. And you're people who are like, yeah, you know, it is a little bit much sometimes, are gonna be in the comments saying, no, it actually is a lot sometimes. And then there's gonna be the other people who are like, F you, you're the ones who mash up the Fete every time. If you guys see me at Tsunami, I'm not boring. Yeah. But I just am aware that sometimes it's a bit much. And I did have a conversation with JL, who's from Dominica, and she talked to me a lot about, and we recorded the episode, she talked to me a lot about bouillon music and nasty business and like the part of that, like how that actually is part of the culture. And like, I like putting out, I guess, my opinion and then having somebody come back and challenge me and have like a decent conversation with them.
Yeah, a decent. That's the
decent
keyword.
Conversation.
And conversation, not your flaming comments,
not attack
in the comment section.
Yeah, because I was like, what? Like, I'm like, how is this related?
And now this is a perfect example, right, of something else that probably would be a good thing for new DJs and new people in general in any industry, right? Think about the person who's putting out that content, right? And now you have all of these people flaming you in the comments. And you might be somebody that goes through each and every one. I try my best to avoid it.
You have to after a while. I have to.
If I know my path, I can't be distracted by that.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how I operate. But imagine if I'm doing that now. There was literally moments after Tsunami where I would be in parties, dapsing people like we cool. And my boys who actually be watching, or my people that actually be watching this stuff, come to me after I daps said person and would be like, yo, that was one of the people talking the most craziness on social media, you know? So imagine like that anxiety and having to deal with that. Like I have to be out here at these gigs.
Yeah.
And like yourself, imagine now you become like, let's just say a regular in the fetes. Like you go in to every fete and the people that's commenting crazy is people you seeing on like as you're walking in the party. So it's always something like you're wondering if it's gonna, you know, these are things that are genuine concerns because people are crazy. And that's where I have to keep on my blinders. I have to focus and that's what I would suggest to anybody doing whatever they're doing. You got to focus on what you're doing. If you know what you're doing is the right thing, all that stuff is noise.
Yeah.
The stuff that hurts though is like, because I said it's like 17 years I've been doing this, but regardless of how long anybody's been doing it, the people that actually have rocked with you and know you and like, you're really in the comments with the crazy, with the shit.
That is what, yeah. If it's somebody you know coming and talking crazy, yeah.
So then it makes me like, I usually pride myself on, I'm a DJ that I'm not gonna be backstage the entire party.
Yeah.
I usually, if I'm not in the middle of the, I'm not usually in the middle of the dance floor anymore. Back in the day I was, but regardless, I go out into the crowd. Like I'm with my friends in the crowd. I'm not usually mingling with the DJs all the time. Once in a while, yeah, but I'm in the crowd. But scenarios like what I just said, it don't even it makes me want to be that person. Like now, should I be like, okay, instead of having this fake situation happen that's having a toll on me, should I just be that guy that just walks to the backstage, do what I have to do, and then
go home,
be secluded or go home? It's hurtful, but it is what it is. You got to know what you're doing, and to be honest, those type of people, it's like, if I really lost you, or if you're talking that amount of nonsense over that, did I ever really have you as a supporter anyway? So
sometimes it's crazy because sometimes they talk about, I don't know, like, what is it, wolf in sheep's cloth and stuff like that, or people that you think are your friends or people that you think are your supporters, but then like when the tide pulls back or whatever, you realize that maybe they weren't always there or they weren't really on your team.
Unintended. When the tide pulls back.
This guy's tsunami plug.
Yeah. Tsunami. Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything else that I really want to talk about. I don't remember. I don't know if there's something that you maybe want to touch on.
Not particularly. I mean, that's primarily what I'm known for, Tsunami. Yeah. I also do Soca Sleepover.
What's next for Tsunami?
No, I can't let that cut out.
Okay.
It's a big deal.
Okay. Tsunami went from 900, 3,500, 5,000.
Yeah.
Next year, what are we doing? 8,000?
I can't predict it because it's just blowing my mind every time, the numbers. So I thank you guys for the love, and I thank the people that actually come and don't just like have a closed mindset to just seeing a price point and like dismissing it. The people that actually came could walk away saying, I could understand.
That's what I did last year. I was like, $70, bro. I was like, I'm not paying $70 for a stupid Fete. Then I saw the videos. Yeah. I was sick. I was like, there's no way. I was like, I would pay $200 right now to go back in time.
Exactly. And again, this is you're an adult making a decision.
Yeah.
I am not holding a gun to anybody's head saying you have to come to Tsunami.
But everybody knows they want to go.
But I understand that, and again, as a businessman, I have to leverage that.
Of course.
But there's a whole operation going on. This isn't just Tsunami and me going straight to Cadillac to buy a car, right? There's a whole scenario where I have to focus on a multitude of facets that I think are ultimately going to help my communities.
And you're also saying that it takes like a year to plan.
A year and change to plan. Like planning phases for next Tsunami they started before.
Before Tsunami even happened?
Yeah. Because I had to I was trying to negotiate for the following year. So the lady said, the person at Black Creek Pioneer Village that we dealt with, she mentioned, let's see how this year goes first. Mm-hmm. And, once we see everything, then we could discuss years moving forward.
Yeah.
This year, she was thoroughly impressed with us.
Nice.
And this is Black Creek Pioneer Village. Mm-hmm. So you know who we're talking about when it comes to owning that kind of land, right? And this is historic land.
Yeah.
So not only did we do an amazing job, we respected their land.
Yeah.
And that's not just on,
I definitely tried to go pee in the bush, and there was a man that was like, you can't go there, go in the porta potty.
I love this candid conversation. You see, you were who was giving trouble. Okay. But no, we do our best, because again, we want to have these relationships.
Yeah, of course.
I know I can't remember if it was on podcast or before, but I think you mentioned something along the lines of, venues always have to change for all these parties.
Yeah, it was before. But
imagine and not to single you out, but just using what you said as an example, imagine you did go to pee in that bush and then one of the venue owners passed by
and saw that
and then came, what's wrong with your people? The people are reckless. Even though, you may have just really had to go. But we have an understanding.
But but like curbing people is like, nobody's going in the porta, but they were clean.
We had people cleaning them throughout the event. This is what we think of almost everything we can, right? We sit down and brainstorm in meetings I'm that guy now. I'm the leader's position. I hate calling these meetings sometimes.
Yeah.
But the gems that come from sitting as a collective in person and having these conversations, the gems that come for that, you are seeing the fruits of that at the event.
Facts.
And think about it. This is only growing and getting bigger. this is becoming something to what you just said about, I don't even want to paint that narrative per se, but what you just said about Carnival and Tsunami. Tsunami is a big factor when it comes to the weekend, the Caravana weekend in our city.
It's huge.
And that's completely independent. That's not funded by anybody. That's not funded by any company. That's us. Blood, sweat, and tears, and me just putting the chess pieces in the right places. And it's been working. And I understand if you guys want to have a closed mind about a price point. As you said, the 140. Had I started there, I would have had to look myself in the mirror and be like, Buzz, come on, you kind of crazy, right? But as I said, you're asking to open up the venue now to more people. She was already like concerned.
Yeah.
When we hit about 4,000 and we asked her, is there any room for like going more than what we agreed on? Oh, well, I don't know. Sounds like a lot of people, but if you did want to do a second day, you could, because you have the time till Tuesday. So I'm like, she's already concerned about that number, right? But there may be ways of expanding the amount of people that could be there now that we've seen what happened.
So
but
it's supposed to be a 2-day thing.
I'm showing you the concern. Well, we're working on, believe me.
Low key.
We're working on a lot of things.
It's supposed to be a 2-day. That's what I've been saying. Because, it's a long weekend. I was like, the next day I woke up, I was like, yo, if they had day 2, I would be ready to go right now.
Yeah. No, facts. But, I mean, even with things like what we're talking about, it's that experience, that one-time show. But when I'm seeing conversations about somebody buying Taylor Swift tickets for $8,000 and Beyonce tickets is going for $600, but scalping for this, as like somebody in your community who's trying to achieve excellence and do things the right way, bringing police, bringing security to ensure you guys' safety, cleaning up every facet that we could, the picnic tables where you guys were eating, the porta potties, the dance floor, having people walking around, getting wet by the water. They're not expecting to get wet. It's y'all. But they're doing that, and all of that comes at a cost. Yeah. And if I'm trying to achieve excellence to where the reviews are as amazing as yours, then isn't that something you'd want to support in our culture?
Yeah. So like I said, if it was 2 days, I would be glad to wake up the next day, bathe my skin, and head right back out.
Well, we may or may not have something very special for you guys in 2024. But
I'm excited.
Every year, you're going to see the evolution, and you're going to see my team kick ass. My team is amazing, and the other projects I was talking about.
Yeah.
There's another thing on top of that where I'm doing these fetes. I put out something called the events playbook that I want to write. That I'm not want to write. I'm currently writing, and the purpose of it is to teach people from a initial phase of how to do events.
You're gonna sell it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's gonna be a package course. It's a package course. But if you study any industry, those are primarily things you do as a business operator. Okay. And people I would sell my knowledge of how I do things. Yeah. Because it's clearly been a success in certain rights. Like, I've done Tsunami, that's been amazing, but I'm still trying to scale stuff like Soca Sleepover, which right now the max it could probably push is about 1,000.
Do you want all of your events to get to Tsunami scale, or is Tsunami so much on its own that you just want that to be the only one?
To Tsunami scale? I mean, who knows, right? Yeah. Because Tsunami on its own will be an internationally touring brand.
Nice.
So something where there's going to be a Tsunami London, UK. There's going to be a Tsunami New York, Labor Day. There's going to be a Tsunami Miami, Trinidad. I'm going to, as much as I could possibly do it, inject that event into every space that I can.
And that goes back to what you're saying about the power of social media. There's so much leverage in it. So people worldwide are already seeing and hearing about this Tsunami thing.
Exactly. And the best thing that you could do these days on socials, on where I told you guys about the mixes, like your SoundClouds, Apple Podcasts, they have the analytics section where you could narrow down who's watching your stuff.
And where they're coming from.
Exactly. So I could see that Canada's watching heavy, obviously. But then right below that is Brooklyn. Okay. Right below that is Trinidad. Okay. And I'm seeing these figures. So I know now where to start at least knocking that door. Because when I go to these places, another heartwarming thing is people that are nowhere near where I'm from are stopping me out there like, "Oh, can I take a picture? Nice. I love what you do." Like, that's one of the most heartfelt things ever. Because just what I'm doing here from home, right, is reaching the other side of the world. I just came back from Ghana this year.
That's
and
sick.
Japan I just came back from Japan like a month ago. And to think that soca music brought me to those type of places. I've been to Dubai. I've been to, again, UK. These are world monumental places. Like these are amazing places to be. And to go there off of soca music and DJing and the business that I built is incredible. And
it's a blessing.
It's so
but
much
you
of a
worked
blessing.
for it.
Very much so. That's 17 years. It came with a lot. It's not just the work. It's what you deal with in the process, what you lose in the process. There's a lot of compromise with doing this. And nobody would understand that, right? Until you're doing it, you're not going to understand it. So sometimes when I deal with certain stuff with older heads or people in the industry, I kind of get why some of them is like this. I get it. But luckily, I have an amazing support system at home.
Yeah.
My parents, my sister, my amazing friends that always keep me grounded. So even sometimes when I really want to let loose, they like will humble me and say, no, be you. You've always been this way. Don't let this person change you.
Or take you out of character.
And take you out of character. Just continue to be you. And that's always worked for me. As much as I may have wanted to react on certain things or say certain things, because that's human nature.
Of course. You want to defend yourself.
Yeah, but a lot of times it's literally just best to wash your hand. Every time it is best to wash your hands of it and just put in the work. That same person, I guarantee you, will come back.
Yeah.
Once you put in the work, right? And it goes right back to the start of the podcast. Just have something to offer. It's the sad part about this business, but nobody's really, especially at this level, nobody cares about you unless you have something to put on the table. Or unless you are like a once in a generation talent. Like I could count on one hand the new guys that I would say have probably made it off the talent alone.
Okay.
And that's crazy for a worldwide industry such as soca music.
So as a DJ, you need to be building your brand, building up your own momentum. And then once you get that going, then building up your own momentum comes from like events and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And soon you're about to be dropping an events course. Eventually you're working on it right now. So somebody just wants the blueprint to look out for that.
Exactly. And you know, it's just that. That's what I'm rooting my business in. Obviously, Tsunami has an attention right now, and I'm leveraging that for these other projects. That, again, these are projects I find important for developing our culture.
Yeah.
And I'm only one man.
Yeah.
And as I keep saying, my team in each of those facets that I'm talking about is amazing. They do a lot for what this operation requires. And I would say from my side of things with the team I deal with now that I've always been, you know, fair with what the reimbursement should be that of the work they did.
Okay.
Right. And I appreciate them for everything that they did, but I would like to do more for them.
Yeah.
Right. I would like to do more for them. They grow or help grow whatever operation I'm thinking of. And as that grows, the community as well develops and mends those type of things. Like that's what I'm rooting, what I'm doing in. And that's a fact. That's not even me just here bantering, right? These are things I've posted online. Yeah. These are that project I was talking about, the DJ network. It now is almost crossing 10K.
Jeez.
I only put up 10 videos. I kind of halved. Like I didn't even really put all my effort into those. But one of them struck like 250,000 views. So now it's at almost...
What video was that? What's it about?
How to organize your Serato crate for DJing. And honestly, I did those 10 videos. I didn't even open the YouTube page back. It was only one day I got an email, something like, basically, oh, so you don't want your money? I'm like, money?
Let me see what this email is about.
I go and sign on the account. I see a little check there. I said, what? Y'all paying me for this?
Nice.
So I signed up for the AdSense account, and the money was released into my account. Wow. I said, that's crazy. I didn't know, I was even making anything from this. But the Tsunami and stuff, like it took priority. Like that needs to happen now. Where the YouTube videos, I'm gonna have to get back to it when there's time. So now that the Tsunami is settled.
Do you guys have like a Tsunami after movie or something that you could post on your YouTube?
That's coming. That's all coming.
Oh my gosh, you actually have oh my gosh.
Literally,
I would love to watch that.
So it's me, at first it's me on the golf cart, and we take the golf cart around the whole venue, and we have the drone footage and all of that.
Way.
The whole movie is coming, like all of that's coming. Unfortunately, it couldn't come like right after Tsunami because
takes time.
And not only that, like the week after I had to fly right out to St. Martin to DJ at Blaze's birthday in St. Martin. And then right after that was Notting Hill, then Japan, then Miami. So it was like nonstop. I only now like recovering from these international trips because those take a toll, man.
Of course. Sometimes it's like jet lag, different time zones, all kinds of stuff.
Japan is 13 hours difference. Think about that.
Day and night.
Exactly. So we're going to the party now and then having the first party. Oh my gosh. It started at 7 p.m. I laid down at 6:30. I'm like, let me take a quick half hour. I woke up at 12:45 a.m. and went on Instagram and saw everybody had so much fun. I'm like, oh my God, I missed it. But those things are real.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to do is commend all those DJs that do that like as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
That is not easy. That traveling, this little Miami, I had about 6 gigs. This was my first time ever getting so much gigs in Miami. But there's some guys that do like 20, 30 gigs for Carnival.
Like one weekend?
Yeah. And one day in the Miami, I did 3 gigs back to back.
Freak.
If you saw me by gig number 3, like by the end
help
of that,
me, please.
yeah, I'm sitting in the corner like, oh my God, I need to go back to the hotel. This is too much.
Yeah.
But these men doing like 5, 6 events, and that's a lot.
Okay, how long is it like your set at a gig?
Normally it'd be about anywhere from 30 to an hour.
Okay.
Anywhere from that. And you know, it's just a lot.
I have a question
What's
about playing. Like, one thing that I noticed some DJs that are good DJs do is I watch them read the crowd and like play back what we want. And some DJs that I notice are not good DJs, they just vibe on their ones what they want to hear.
Yeah. That, again, I'm a partier first, so that's where I would relate that to. I go to parties first, and I know what I like. I could tell what the people like, and I'm in that culture. I enjoy myself in that culture, so I reflect that in my DJing.
Okay.
Whereas some DJs might just like a certain sound or whatever and go there to play just for them.
Yeah.
And you'll tell. The crowd will tell you.
I'm like, are these guys not like watching the vibe of the crowd? Like, no one is. Look, when you played that song, people got excited. Play more at that pace. Play, like, come on.
So, and these are all things that I'll be teaching on the DJ network.
Nice.
So, take of it what you will. I'm not saying I'm the expert, but I don't think you have to be an authority in the space, like to.
I mean, 17 years.
Or sorry, you don't have to be an authority in the space to come and teach, right? You don't have to be the best. But I think I know I could add valuable information that DJs could take on. Yeah. Because there's little things like that DJ you may be talking about might have never heard what we're talking about right now. Well, if you just played this song and they react like this, it might, as much as we think common sense is common, it's not.
Just give the people what they want.
But that's what I'm saying. That DJ might have never heard that before, right?
Yeah.
So if there's a platform where they could hear that gently, then maybe it could assist that DJ, which assists the party, which assists your experience, which assists everything.
Win. So it'll be like a mentorship and community type thing. That's amazing. So where can people find you?
So mainly Instagram, DJ_BuzzB. DJ_BuzzB, just type that in everything pretty much, you'll find me. But I'm trying to get on the TikTok. That's one I haven't really I've only dipped my toe in it. I have a few videos and one of them went crazy. Like,
was it from Tsunami?
Nah, Juve in June.
Party was fun too.
That was it was a weird video too. It was something where like somebody lost half of an ID card. And I put up the ID card like, yo, who lost half of an ID card? And that has like 200,000. So
what the heck?
I'll be posting like some important content, some heartfelt. I spent hours on this. The one little stupidness I say on stage, 200,000. Yeah. But I said I'm gonna keep knocking on that TikTok door because I see value in the space. But Instagram is what's been working for me. So, again, I'm only one man, but I'm trying my best even to incorporate a social media team because that's possible too, right? And those things that will help the entire business grow require money. Yeah. So understanding that, yes, there's business, but there's also ways of scaling it.
And reinvesting.
Like I can't possibly do all of that myself.
Yeah.
So if I'm bringing people on, especially ones that are coming here based off of me and my name and knowing BuzzB or Steven, they don't even know, some of them don't even know BuzzB.
Name drop.
Okay. Well, if you go on Facebook, you can see that anyway. But, they see you. Yeah. And they know who I am as a person. Mm-hmm. So if they're doing that just because of who I am, seeing that it's a honorable project that could benefit a lot of people, they're going to help. But I'm not the type of person that just wants to take that help for like and not give them anything in return. Yeah. I try to be as fair as I could be. And moving forward, I would want to do more for them than they're even asking. Mm-hmm. And to do that requires capital. And I'm not the
Are you taking investors?
Eventually, yeah. And especially this year coming with Tsunami. because look at the scale of it. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to get into sponsorship now. I haven't even had to ask anybody yet, and there's been people knocking.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it's people who work with me in other spaces. So, again, mutually beneficial situations. They see how I have something I could put on the table, so forth. But all of these things, yeah, it is what it is. And I'm just trying to root what I do in developing everybody.
Yeah.
And obviously, I have a family to feed. I have my own responsibilities that I need to tend to.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just said, I think you just said reinvesting.
Yeah.
A lot of it is. So as much as you may think, whatever number you may have, like some abstract number in your head of what could have come in from any of these parties, you guys see the big name parties and you have some abstract number of what it might be. But think about that. If there's profit that comes back and you want next year to be bigger, what naturally happens? Reinvest, but the bill goes up.
Oh, yeah.
If it's bigger, it can't be the same price that you got it for before.
Facts.
Especially when all of those people are like doing their own calculations in their head. Oh, wait a minute. This many people, but if that's the case, then I might have charged them too little for this. So next year, now we can't give the same. A lot of that happens, and you have to be, you know, knowledgeable of that too. Everybody think it's just like a one-way street with this. It's not that easy.
A lot to navigate.
A lot, but thankfully I have a solid team, the grace of God, and you know, it's amazing to see where my journey has taken me. And thank you all. Anybody who even took the time to sit here for however long, the hour. I know these podcasts be long sometimes, but when she clips it up, you're going to get the juicy parts on socials. But no, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
I love this. I love podcasts. I love this platform. I've been doing it since 2016, so I see the value in it. And that's why I had no concern about coming from East End.
I know.
Quite Mississauga.
Well, I'm looking forward to coming over there to be on, what's it? People's Podcast?
The Up From Here podcast.
Oh, yes. Up From Here
yes,
podcast.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll organize that soon.
Yeah.
But yes,
thank you so much.
I appreciate you.